One more time. Maybe if any of you guys know, when I get a phone call, it stops my video. How can I push 2 videos to become one? Because it makes me have to start all over again. And I'm not, so we're starting from here. So getting back to this. So we have 1/2, the height of the base, the trapezoid. So again, this is all of your trapezoid. So just look there. And then at the H is the height of the actual prism, which is 10. Put all of that in your calculator, and here's your final answer. Now volume should be in cubes. Okay? All right, let's go on to our next question. So it says the volume of a cube is equal to the volume of a rectangular, probably should say rectangular prism. So let's do volume of a cube we know is S cubed. Volume of a rectangular prism we should know is length times width for the base times your height. And then let's figure it out. Their volumes are equal. The length is 20, the width is 5, and the height is 10. Oops. And it wants us to find the side of the cube. Well, 20 times 5, 100 times 10 is 1,000 for the volume. So that means the volume of the cube is 1,000. So here we go again. Let's raise it to the 1/3. And one more time, just like that one above, you guys get the side of 10. Pretty simple. All right, so let's take a look at our next problem. A few more of the prisms, and then we'll go to cylinders, which is pretty simple. All right. So number 5, it says the base of a right. Remember what I said about right prism? Right prism is just because you can have right or oblique. If you look in your textbook, it talks about that. We're just going to stick with regular right prisms. But this is the most important thing. Your base is an equilateral triangle. So if you want to draw it, you guys can draw it. Sometimes don't really need to draw for volumes. They're usually easier. And all of their sides measure 4, and the altitude of the prism is 5. Find the volume. Well, here we go again. You know it's base times height because it's a prism. Let's replace the B with the formula for the area of a equilateral triangle. And then it's super simple. You got 4 squared rad 3 over 4 times the height, which is 5. And put all of it in your calculator. Don't touch the rad 3. And we get 20 rad 3 inches cubed. Told you, volume is very simple. Okay, so let's go on to this one. We have 5 here, 4 there. Okay, you want the volume. So if you want, we can still do this just to get, because it's in the habit and it's new. But I want you right away to replace it. It's 1/2 apothem perimeter times the height. All right, so here we go. We have 1/2. All right, we have to figure out our pieces of information. All right, so if this is 5, we have to think. If this is 4. All right, so here we go. If this is 4, you have a hexagon. Remember, it's 360 divided by 6 divided by 2 for your central angle. So I know 30 is here, 60 is here. So we know we have 4s across the 90, which means this is the 2, and across the 60 is the 2 rad 3. Yes, I found my apothem. Now perimeter, well 2, this is also 2, so one side is 4. 4 times 6, we got 24. Now we want to find the height of the actual prism. Well, if you think about this, this is 4, and look what we have here. We have a right triangle. So we have 4, 5, Pythagorean theorem, or knowing your triples, 3, 3, 4, 5. So my height is 3. You guys put it all in the calculator. You guys should get your volume to be 72 rad 3. We'll say units cubed. Okay, going on to number 6. Your favorite one, the pentagon. In your head, you should be realizing you're going to have to do trig. All right, I'm just going to go like this because all I really need is one base for my visual. So it wants me to find the volume, and the sides length is 7, and the height of the prism is 5. So right away, let's do this, and let's replace. Base 1/2 apothem perimeter times height. Okay, so, well, what we can figure out is my perimeter. Well, what's the perimeter? The perimeter is 7. Again, all of it's the base. 7 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So your perimeter is 35. The height of the prism is 5. So we just have to take a moment and find our apothem. All right, could have just used the picture, but I'm gonna redraw it. Okay, so we know if the whole thing is 7, you have 3.5, we have this. You should hopefully remember that's 36. I'm just gonna put an A here for your apothem. So what we're trying to do is tan 36 equals opposite over adjacent, which is your apothem. Let's see what we get. 3.5 divided by tan 36. You get your apothem to be 4.8173 with lots more things going on. Remember, we do not want to round that, so just take your calculator and continue multiplying it by 35, 5.5, and here's what you guys get for your volume. So as long as you guys knew how to find area from the unit 2 units ago, you should be fine. All right, last prism question. So it says a movie theater designs to hold 2 bags of popcorn. To hold 96 inches of popcorn. Want us to find the height of each bag. Okay. So for, let's say, bag A, we know that this is a rectangular base and it's a prism. So we should know its length times width and then times the height of the actual prism. So I have my length of 3, my width of 4, some unknown height, but I know it needs to be 96. So obviously you guys just do 96 divided by 12, and height would be 8 for bag A. Bag B, I probably should have done it like this. This is part A. Bag B again is, so now it's 4 times 4 times your height. And again, it wants to be 96. So in the end, it's 96 divided by 16. You have a height of 6. And then for part B, which bag should the movie theater choose to cover? All right, so you have to think, since you are covering, or the amount of paper, needed, you're covering the outside, because that's where the paper is, a light bulb should go off and it should say surface area. However, light bulb should also go off and say you are not covering the top. So think about this. What's your formula for surface area of a prism? Surface area of a prism, if you guys remember, was perimeter times h plus 2b. However, we don't want 2 bases, we want 1 base. Make sure you're aware. Okay, so which bag should the theater choose to reduce the amount of paper? All right, let's try bag A, the perimeter. So we have the perimeter of 3 is 6, 4 is 10, 14 times my height, which is 8, which gives me 124 inches squared. And let's try bag B. So we got 4 times 6, 4, which is 16. And you're going to do 16 times 6. What did I do wrong here? 4 times 4 is 16. And you should get 96 inches squared. Just double check one thing. Oops. 14. My bad. I'm not sure where that number came from. That should be 112. But anyway, which one should they choose to reduce the amount of paper? And this is the one they should choose. And obviously, because it'll use less paper, and you have the same amount to fill it. So that's volume of a prism. Very, very simple. Again, your formula is just base times height for volume, and always replace the B. So now the reason why I stuck cylinder in with the same day I know it seems like a lot, but I promise you it's not, because watch for cylinder. If you look at this, tell me, how many bases does a cylinder have? 2. Because it has 2 bases, guess what your formula for a cylinder is going to be? Anytime it's 2 bases, base times height, just like you guys did for your prism, which has 2 bases. So 2 bases, this is your formula you can know. However, for a volume of a cylinder, since the base is never changing, it's always a circle, you can know the, obviously, B was going to be the, area of the base. I don't know what I was writing. Area of, the area of the circle is always going to be pi r squared times h. So in the end, this is your permanent formula for volume of a cylinder. But again, you can have an idea, it's base times height. So watch how easy. A right circular cylinder, again, if the right throws you off, ignore it. It has a volume of 1,000. So let's write our formula. Volume, cylinder. Okay, so you have a volume of 1,000 equals pi r squared, and altitude is 8. What's the radius? So in your calculator, obviously, to get r by itself, you're going to divide by 8 pi. Please, as you see what I just used, use parentheses, and then whatever you get, you have r squared. How do you get rid of the squared? We're going to square root what you get, and your final answer should be A. Okay, next. So you have the volume of a cylinder. Who cares about that? I'm looking for the height. So this one you were looking for the radius, now you're looking for the height, just because other problems are just super self-explanatory. All right, so let's see what we have for this one. I know here's my volume formula. And I have 245. All right, so I have a pi. My radius is 5.5 squared times height. Obviously, you just put it all in the calculator, or what I would do is just, do 245. As long as you have your calculator, put this in parentheses. Only the 5.5 is being squared, and you're dividing. Obviously, this cancels, and that'll give you guys your height, and I want it to the nearest tenth, so it's 2.6. Okay? Okay, great. 3 more problems, and you got it all. So watch this one. I'm telling you a right cylindrical hole of a diameter of 5 is drilled out of a cube. All right, so let's definitely have a visual for this one. So I'm going to draw my cube. Okay, and then the best I can, however you see it, and I see the top right here, is I'm going to draw, oh my God, here's my circle. Here is a circle, and here is a cube. The best that, we can kind of draw it. Hopefully you somewhat see it. I don't really know kind of where it's going, but again, I like to have a visual. So there you guys go. You have, let's just say, the cube. You have the cylinder going right through it, and it tells you it has a diameter of 5, so you all know we only care about the radius. I'm going to put the radius right in. Okay, and then the cube has an edge of 7, and we all know that a cube, everything is the same, so if you want, marking that all around. Find the volume of the remaining figure. So what you're trying to do, again, volume, you're filling it up. So that's why these are easier. We're going to find the volume of the cube, and then we're going to drill out the cylinder. So we're going to minus the volume of the cylinder. Do not overthink these like our surface area. They're not as challenging where you're doing the covering. Okay, so we know this is the formula for cube, and we know this is our formula for cylinder. Just put your numbers in. So we have 7 cubed minus pi. Radius is 2.5 squared. Height is 7. Put it all in your calculator. I want exact. So in the end, 7 cubed, 343, minus, just put the numbers in the calculator, and this is what you all get. If you think I'm going fast, again, obviously it's very, very simple. It's not the challenging one like surface area, I promise. Okay, almost done. So next we want to find the volume of this, the composite solids that we do, which might have seemed harder, but one more time, you are just filling things. You don't have to cut things out around. So you just got to break this up into different shapes. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the volume of our rectangular prism, and then we're going to add the volume of this top cylinder, which is 1/2 the cylinder. I'll say top, as well as half of the left cylinder, right cylinder. Good if I knew my right from my left. That's it. Again, don't overthink it. So let's put our formulas. Volume of a prism, and it's rectangular, so I have length width times my height. The cylinders we know is pi r squared h. I'm just going to do that. The reason why I'd recommend you doing that is because it's really easy to forget. Now you're just following your numbers. All right, so I don't care which one you make your base. I'll choose to make this one my base on the bottom. I usually like you guys to see the bottom as a base. So if this is 2, what's the length of this? 5, 5. So I'm going to say 2 times 5 is my length. Oh my God, the area of the base. The height of the prism is 4. Done. And then let's say plus. We got pi. What's the top radius? Well, if this is 2, I can't even see now. If this is 2, that means this was 2, which means half of it is 1. The height of the top one is 5. All over 2, don't forget that, plus pi. So what's the radius of this? Well, this length was 4, so that means it's going to be 2. The height is this again, so it's 5 all over 2. Put this all in your calculator because I want it to the nearest tenth, and here's what you should get. Done. See how much easier this is than your surface area? So much easier. All right, last one. We don't really need it, but let's do one more to get it. So we have a volume, the section of the concrete pipe, and has an inside diameter of 1.2, outside 1.8. What's the volume of the concrete in this section? So what are we doing? That's kind of weird. I want this area. I can't just ask you for the inside because then that would be silly for the outside. So I'm going to ask you whatever the question's asking. I'm changing it if that's what it is. I want just what's left over there. So obviously it's the volume of the cylinder minus the volume of the cylinder. So we have pi, the radius. Well, 1.2 is obviously the diameter of the inner one. So 1.2 divided by 2, that was dumb, is 0.6 squared, and the height is 3 minus the volume of the outer one first. It's 0.9. Sorry. Minus the volume of the inner one. And let's put it all in our calculator. Pi 3 minus pi. Make sure I did my work correctly, so I'm doing it again. Good. Okay, for this one, let's just round to the nearest hundredth. And here is your volume, 4.24 meters cubed. That's it. That's all you have to do for volume. Hopefully you guys thought volume or think volume is pretty easy. A few more shapes, but the prisms and were maybe more challenging because of the different shapes, but you guys see it's super easy, and as well as our composites are super easy. All right, you guys, be sure to watch both videos because again, it got cut off. Bye.